can hear you asking, well, how do you apply these 5 core skills that of being interested, being caring, and asking questions because you're curious, then telling stories, and finally to listen? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story, but it's a factual story. It's when I met two of the nicest guys I've ever met, Peter and Michael, right? Wonderful people up in the Liverpool area we first met, although they moved up to another place, and for their own privacy, I don't know whether it would identify anybody, but I'm not going to give all the details about them. But I'm going to tell you what happened. Basically, I booked an appointment with them. They were interested in. They were living in a flat in in Liverpool, and they were interested in buying a house, and so they needed my assistance because at that time, not only did I sell life insurance, but I also arranged mortgages. I had a number of people who had allocated funds for my customers. So I booked the appointment, and one evening, I think it was a 7 o'clock appointment in the evening. I only had the one, but I went. That evening, it was a quiet day. I didn't have to. Sometimes I do 3 appointments in an evening, but this time it was just the one. So I went in. I started talking to these 2 lovely fellows. Now, I'll tell you here and now, it was obvious that they were gay. Right, everything they were talking about was togetherness, right, and they obviously loved each other very much, and I could see that. I knew that it wasn't an issue for me. It never has been, But the interesting thing is that we were talking, right, and I was using my listening. I was asking questions. I was interested in their life and in things about them to help me identify in what way, apart from just simply getting a mortgage, I could help them. So I was applying all these 5 core skills in getting this. And basically, we broke the ice. Oh, then we just chatted and talked. And we talked for 2 hours, not about business. Just talked for 2 hours. Now, why did I do that? Well, the reason I did that is because I knew from the way they were talking to me that there was something being held back. Now, this is one of the things that, if you don't believe in yourself, your prospects will believe you, will not believe in you either. It's because there is this sort of, I don't know whether it's telepathic or what, but I understood that there was something missing in the conversation. And I wanted to build their confidence in me and trust in me so that they would tell me. So after really getting to know everything about them, about the times when they have been attacked in the street because they're gay, it's horrendous what some people have to go through just for everyday life. But basically, I sort of said, guys, I'd just like to stop the conversation here for a moment. I am loving our conversation. You've told me so much about yourselves, and I understand exactly how I can help you. But there's one problem, right? And there's something you're not telling me. And I said to them, the first thing is, you're obviously gay, so it's not that. I mean, you can't hide that. And they went, oh, right, you realise, do you? I sort of said, yeah, it's not too difficult. But, with the best will in the world, you're 2 guys in love, and it's wonderful to see. And they went, you could see the tension go out from them, which I had sensed in some way. I don't know how. I mean, I'm used to talking to people, so consequently, it's something I learned to find out. And then I sort of said, but there's something else you're not telling me, and I think it might be something I might need to do. And if it's not, you can tell me and tell me to go away and shut up. And they They stopped and looked at each other, and Peter nodded to Mike, and Mike started talking. Yeah, a few years ago, I was in a very dark place, and I actually attempted suicide. Not just thought about it, I actually attempted suicide. Luckily, somebody discovered me and saved my life, and I'm able to get into this relationship and get into my new life, which is amazing. And I said to him, do you know what, Mike? That is the most amazing thing you've told me, and I thank you very much for telling me, because in the insurance game, they see that as a moral hazard. Personally, I don't. When you're in a bad place, I've been in a bad place, I've been suicidal, so I'm not a risk, but you actually are tempted, and that's the thing that we need to tell them, just to make certain that nobody can come back at a later stage and take things away from you if there was a claim. So the good news is that they actually did get through without any loading, no extra payments, no limitations whatsoever. But let me tell you about these guys. As a result of that, they did absolutely everything with me from that point onwards. I arranged a mortgage. I introduced them to a lawyer to sort it out for them. And you know what? They came back, and they were so over the moon with this lawyer. He was a 65-year-old lawyer, very, very old school, right? And to be perfectly honest, we'd actually never met, the lawyer and myself, but we've spoken many, many times because I got to know him and so forth, but I hadn't actually met him. I'd met one of his partners, but I hadn't actually met this guy. But what happened was that they sat down in this meeting with him, and Pete was the guy who was out working. Mike was a mature student. He'd gone back to become a teacher, right? So he didn't have an income as such. So on the mortgage, the name was going to be Peter's, right? It was before the time when it's a little bit more lenient nowadays, and you could have put both of them on there. So he sat down, he worked out to do this, we do that, blah, 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 and everybody was happy. And then he sort of said, fine, that's you sorted. Now let's sort you out, Michael. And Michael's jaw dropped, and he says, what do you mean? He sort of said, right, well, we're going to set up an agreement, a legal agreement between you and this, and do this and that. And literally, the jaws dropped, right? And so when they came back to me, they told me this story. They told me how amazing this old solicitor was actually caring about them. So not only had I cared about the people who I was dealing with, my solicitor friend, he cared too. These were customers, and it was important to him that they were looked after properly. So they set it up legally so that both sides were protected, because both sides were contributing to this house purchase. And basically there they were, and they came back, and they were absolutely over the moon. Now, one more thing happened that I'm going to tell you about, as it were, because I got their total and utter trust. Right, they invited me to their housewarming once we'd got all the purchase done, and I went up there, and do you know what? He took me by the hand, and he sort of said, "I'm going to introduce you to some of your friends." Now, we had a joke. I sort of said, if you know, because he was the effeminate one, and I always used to sort of say to him, if you talk like that, people will think you're a pufter. And he would just kill himself with laughing, right? Because I wasn't having any issue with them. I could just make fun of their situation, and his situation was, he was at school, at college, and the amazing thing that in that college, the girls weren't quite sure whether he was gay or not. And to be perfectly honest, he had one of these gay. He could not have been mistaken, but this is the joy of young students. They're not always as well versed in life as some of the rest of us. But what we did, what he did, is he took me round and introduced me to every single person at that housewarming party. Every single person. And do you know how he ended? This is the man who bought our house for us. Now, I laughed because, I just arranged the finance. I didn't actually buy it for you. But it was a lovely way to do it. And so I had 2 customers for life. I could go back to Liverpool. I'm now down in Kent, and it's, 30, 40, 50 years later. I could go there now, knock on their door, and know that I'd get a warm welcome. And that is where you've got total trust with your customers, because you spend time to listen to them, to ask them questions, to tell them stories, to do whatever it is necessary for them. And the thing that I found out later, Michael was the only son of a multimillionaire. Yeah. So I had a lot more work to do ahead of me. So when you think that these 5 skills are not important, trust me, they are critical. They are so important that they make the difference. Now, I'm not suggesting you spend 2 hours chatting to somebody before you start talking business, especially as you are there on business. It's not a prospecting conversation, it's a sales appointment. But if you focus on them, everything's about them, then they'll repay you by giving you the trust you deserve. And that is a sale in the pocket. Guaranteed, if you look after people properly, they when they say, I like this guy, I trust this guy, they also have in the back of their head, they don't actually say it in their heads, I do business with this guy. Because that's what trust means. So you need to make certain that you use these 5 skills to build that trust, because they are the perfect tools to get trust. Thank you for listening. I hope you have some of your own stories to tell, but you can use this story with other people. It doesn't have to be something that you've actually experienced, but as long as you know the story to be able to deliver a message. So thank you very much. I'll see you soon.